The heat wave is broken. As a cold front moved on through, some areas, as usual, get the thunderstorms that were advertised, and some areas, as usual, not get the thunderstorms as advertised. We'll review all of this, and of course, we'll be taking a look at the weather for the next few days as some drier air attempts to move into the northeast and northern mid Atlantic states. But there will be heavy rains across the lower Ohio Valley and into the Tennessee Valley, and even in the southwest, where flash flooding is likely. We'll be talking about that in the long range, and there might be another heat wave in the long range. All of that on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. Now, Mr. Rayo,
Yes.
did you or did you not forecast showers and thunderstorms for today?
Yes, I did.
And isn't it
I was,
true, Mr. Rayo, that they put up a severe thunderstorm watch for this afternoon for actually from Virginia all the way up to Maine?
yes, they did.
And isn't it true that not everybody got to see those thunderstorms? This is where
Yes,
this is where
they
you
did,
go.
and they did.
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Objection, Your Honor.
Actually, I just
Uncircumstantial.
yes, counsel is leading the witness. I actually just finished watching season 6, episode 16, which is the first in a series of episodes where Perry is in the hospital having some sort of surgical procedure, and they had all the guests, the guest attorneys taking
Like
his
Betty
place.
Davis.
Well, that was the first one, was the case of Constant Doyle, and that was with Betty Davis, yes. And
And you
as
notice that in that case, at the end, when they did the cast of characters or whatever, Betty's name was about one and a half. The font for Betty Davis's name was about 1.5 times larger than everybody else's uh,
well, that
name
was
on the
that was
disc.
something that in her career that was a big that and I thought of, you could look at it and say that that was a diva thing, or but in reality she was very smart at trying to making sure that she was marketed correctly. She always got top billing wherever it was. Her name was always above the title. And
Right.
someone once asked her about her tombstone, about her name, and yeah, the name goes first. She said. So anyhow, all right. So actually, some places today didn't make it to 90 degrees in spite of the launching pad this morning. I looked at some of these at 8 o'clock. I pulled up the high temperature map, and there were places that were already up at about 84, 85, and a lot of those places didn't get to 90. So the clouds cut it back, and the front actually came through a little earlier than advertised, or or maybe I should just say that the front just came through in the, pushed the thunderstorms through in the early to middle part of the afternoon, as opposed to the late afternoon and evening hours to take advantage of the maximum daytime heating. But the heat wave's broken. For some folks, it's 7 days. For some folks, it's 6. Yes, okay. And then, you know, 10 days is impressive. 11 days is impressive. 6 days is, middle of the road.
Well, I'll tell you, it was disappointing to me because we, Renata and I were all, hoping that we would get the last measurable precipitation that I had here was exactly a week ago. I had 7/10 of an inch of rain, some scattered showers and thunderstorms. It has been bone dry since, and today was especially disappointing. I mean, there are parts of, let's say, LaGuardia Airport and Manhattan and Queens and elsewhere. They got upwards to like 2 inches of a soaking rain.
Yeah.
We got nothing up here in Putnam Valley. We went through the entire day, no precipitation whatsoever. And this is on top of a rather windy, gusty day yesterday afternoon and last night. And looking out the window saying, like, where the heck is this wind coming from? And today, again, the thunderstorms to the south of us, thunderstorms to the east of us, but nothing here. And so, and it looks like now we're going to be dry through tomorrow, through Wednesday. Our next chance looks like maybe maybe by later Thursday and Thursday night. We'll see.
Right, with the next trough looks a little bit more impressive than this one does. So yeah, I think that would probably be your next shot, and it'll probably also get very warm to borderline hot ahead of it, assuming that there's enough sun before the front passes. And it does look like behind that one is a nice dry air mass that'll carry us through this coming weekend and into the very first part of next week.
Well, I'm impressed by the fact that late Friday night, early Saturday morning, there's some kind of an upper disturbance that's moving across the Northeast, and there's a nice, albeit it's a rather short-lived or short-lived airflow, a nice flow of northwesterly winds, which not so much really for our area, although we will get a piece of that, during part of the day on Saturday. But up where I'm going in Vermont, a lovely sweep of northwesterly winds, which will bring in a drier and you can't say, all right, I understand you can say cooler because the temperatures are only, he said, going to be around 80 or 82 where I'm going to be. But it is going to be a far more comfortable air mass, probably the most comfortable air mass that we have seen for the Northeast in general in quite some time. And that's coming our way first thing on Saturday morning and probably carrying right on through into Sunday. It looks like high pressure will be building in from the Great Lakes on Saturday and will be almost directly over New York State for much of the day on Sunday. So right now, it looks like this weekend is going to be a winner. It'll be the last weekend in July. Shudder to think about that if you're a summertime fan, but it looks like it's going to be a gooder out there by the weekend. But before we get that, as you mentioned, Joe, one more round of heat and humidity building up ahead of the front for later on in the week. Looks like a warm front coming through on Thursday, and then the cold front slowly coming through our area during the day on Friday.
Yeah, and after that dry shot comes through next weekend, and once that starts to pull out early next week, it does look. When I was looking at the long range on the GFS anyway, it does look like a another long duration heat wave may get underway that might last 6 or 7 days, with a big ridge building in the east and the Midwest and points west and south. It looks rather formidable. So we'll take a look at that. And let's see. Just reading, it's from the chat board. I know David Schwartz said earlier that he's in Astoria and in Queens, and the rain was exceptionally heavy. Not just according to him, but from some other folks that I heard from that. And well, I'm just reading around. Severe thunderstorm for southern New Jersey until 10 p.m. this evening. Beach Haven, strong storms, 115 lightning strikes. Which leads me to the phrase, you just get a kick sometimes when people try to start to add extra adjectives where they're not needed. So I always get a kick out of frequently dangerous lightning as opposed to infrequently non-dangerous lightning. I mean, it really isn't lightning sort of dangerous all the time. I don't know. But anyhow, welcome everybody on this Monday night to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, and welcome to everybody on the chat board. Nice to see you there and having conversation, which is good. And once again, with the case with these thunderstorms, some of you get them, and some of you don't. And I'm going to pull up the satellite loop because that drier air is arriving, Joe, even as we speak. I mean, I'm just taking a look at this loop, and it's pretty well cleared out now across much of upstate New York and Vermont and northern Pennsylvania. But you do see that front's going to get hung up for a little while to our south, and there's a ton of moisture that's coming out of the Central Plains and moving across the Ohio Valley and into West Virginia, and North Carolina. And in fact, I'm getting some of the blow off from thunderstorms that are sort of arcing around the flat and upper high. and those clouds are running north to south through the southern Appalachians and across Georgia and into Alabama. But that moisture is going to bring some heavy rains to areas just to our south. Unfortunately, for those of you, a lot of people are talking about how dry it is. The frontal boundary is just going to be too far south for the area to get into any of that rain tomorrow.
It looks like, and Joe, it would appear that we're going to see a drop both in the temperature and the dew point up here in the Northeast. It's not going to be a substantial temperature drop. The temperatures, I
No.
believe, are still going to be in the mid and upper 80s, which really is right where it should be at this time of the year. We're not talking about 90s or even triple digits anymore. And the dew points, I think, for about a day, one day, we're going to see a substantial drop. We'll see it drop into the 50s, but then just as quickly. I mean, no sooner is it, down, it comes right back up again. It's like a fighter, it gets you get hit on the chin, down he goes, but almost immediately after he goes down, he comes right back up again to tell the referee, yeah, no problem, no problem. You get the mandatory 8 count. So tomorrow, yeah, the dew point goes down, but it doesn't stay down. It comes back up again, probably close to or maybe even above 60, which places it in the muggy category for Wednesday. And then for Thursday and for Friday, back into the 60s, and once again back into a rather uncomfortable situation. So I would presume that tomorrow probably is going to be the best day. But ironically, I don't know how you feel about this. It appears, to me at least, that we're going to have to deal with quite a bit of cloud cover, mostly of the mid and high level varieties. So even though the temperatures do go down, and even though the humidity goes down even more, the dew point temperatures, we still are going to have quite a bit of mid and high level cloudiness to kind of veil the sunshine tomorrow. It won't be a pristinely clear day. On the other hand, as the humidity starts coming up and the dew point temperatures go up too on Wednesday, that's when I think we're probably going to see a return, maybe not to full sunshine, but mostly sunny skies out there for the middle of this week.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the current observations, and the dew points are still in the low 70s in New Jersey, over Long Island, and into Connecticut. You have to at this moment anyway. You have to go uh, to about just west of Scranton. You start to get into some dew points that are down in the 50s. So the dry line from that respect is still several hours or more away, but it is going to get in here. That drier air. Actually, we're still even waiting for the wind shift because most of the winds are either south southwest over Long Island or southwest over land. But then once Scranton is still just southwest, but everybody west of there is either west or northwest. So we still have to wait for that wind shift to occur, and just kind of maneuvering my way up the Hudson Valley, wait for the plots to come on. And most temperatures are in the 70s, dew points in the mid to upper 60s. The same for southern, southeastern New England right now, where there was some shower and thunderstorm activity there as well. Dew points in the low 70s in southeastern New England. They're mostly in the lower 70s across Connecticut, and in Massachusetts they're upper 60s and low 70s. You have to go west of Albany. You start to get toward Binghamton, your dew points drop down to near 60, and then you go further north and west of there. That's when you really start getting into dew points that are in the 50s, and head over into into further into western New York. You even see some dew points down near 50 or even the upper 40s. So that'll get here soon enough. Meanwhile, on the radar from earlier, now I've refreshed it so we can't really see it. There's one last line of storms that's moving across northwest Connecticut. There's a pretty rather powerhouse looking thunderstorm that's just about over Hartford or just north of Hartford, where 84 and 91 intersect, and that's moving southeastward. There's also a rather strong east-west uh, area of thunderstorms in southern New Jersey, close to near Atlantic City. The western edge of that is just west of Atlantic City and then extends out into the ocean. There's some severe thunderstorm warnings up in southern Delaware at the moment, and then we get into the plain old heavy showers and thunderstorms in parts of North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, a few scattered around in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then further south on the west coast of Florida, we've got some stuff. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you do have moisture back through Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri. And again, you're right about the clouds tomorrow because it's going to be coming from that moisture that's moving through the middle Mississippi and into the lower Ohio Valley. And most of that is going to go down through West Virginia and into Virginia, maybe to the Delmarva Peninsula for a little while. But again, most of that going by to our south.
Yeah, and there's one final. I'm looking for my area specifically. There's one final band, but it narrows as it's approaching from to our north, to my north, of some shower activity. Whether or not that holds together enough so that it'll give me a few more than just a few drops, let's say in the next 60 to 90 minutes, is debatable because, again, now we're getting into that time of the evening where things begin to die off a bit. And so, certainly nothing severe. The severe weather watch is now over. It was not supposed to expire until 10 o'clock, but it's pretty well over with now, at least on this side of the boundary between Connecticut and the lower Hudson Valley. Much of Connecticut is still under a severe weather watch, but for the Hudson Valley, no, not anymore. So there might be a little bit of precipitation lingering for a short while in the next 60 to 90 minutes over parts of the area, but after that, things will dry out, skies will clear up, and that'll set the stage for, at least partially clear up, and that sets the stage for tomorrow, which again does not look pristine. It looks like we're going to have to deal with kind of a blend of cloud and sun, mostly high and mid-level cloud cover. But again, it does not look like a pristine, beautiful, sunny, bright day. That will hold off until Wednesday, but then by Wednesday, up comes the humidity slowly but surely, and it's going to become even more felt again Thursday and Friday, with the passage on Thursday of a warm front, which will usher in yet a new airflow of warm, sticky, humid, uncomfortable air to our region.
Yep. Still, you mentioned about the watch still being up. It's still up for Massachusetts and Connecticut. As you're on the tail end of that line that's producing that big thunderstorms over Hartford, southeastern New England, and then kind of stakes its way up the coast into Maine. So that's still going. We also have the severe thunderstorm watch still up for southernmost New Jersey over the Delmarva Peninsula and into eastern Virginia. But once that last gasp of thunderstorm activity moves on through, it should be done with. Now, for tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center's got a marginal risk central and southern Virginia into North Carolina, back through Tennessee, into Kentucky and central and southern West Virginia, southernmost Indiana, small portion of southernmost Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and into southeastern Missouri. And then for the next day, which is Wednesday into Thursday, uh, pretty much the same area, although they do have the northern edge of marginal risk into southern New Jersey up to from about Atlantic City to, I would say, if you draw a line from Atlantic City to near Harrisburg or just south of Harrisburg to south of Pittsburgh, and then running west through Ohio and central Ohio, central Indiana, central Illinois, southern half of Missouri. Then the bottom part of it kind of arcs back through northern Tennessee and back over into Virginia. Nothing in the long range with respect to that. And as far as the rainfall is concerned, let's see what they did on their updated forecast. And as the map freshens up, yep, I mean, they've got this is I'm sure they're upstate New York, where in areas in New England that are bone dry wouldn't mind seeing this, but you go down from into Delaware south into North Carolina, and then generally from there back westward through the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, into Arkansas over the next 7 days, looking at 3 to maybe as much as 5 inches of rain being forecast. And also in western Kansas and in through much of Colorado, northern New Mexico, and northwestern Texas and the Oklahoma Panhandle, several inches or more of rain, and some of that is coming from the monsoon, dragging a lot of tropical moisture up through Mexico and into Arizona. In fact, if I bring up which I'm going to do now. We'll bring up weather.gov and take a look at uh, some of the watches and warnings. And of course, you see up in the Northeast, you still have those severe thunderstorm warnings. So we have flash flood warnings in northeastern Missouri through central Illinois and southern parts of southwestern Indiana. But much of the state of Arizona, Joe, is under flash flood watches, and there's flash flood warnings that are up there right now. And I'll just take a look at the radar, and it's kind of understandable because it's quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity going on there. And SPC, and also back into southern Colorado. These are places. Now, some areas have seen some slight alleviation of the long-term drought that's in the Southwest. So obviously they need more, and it needs to be a little more widespread than it's being indicated here on the radar. But nonetheless, there's going to be plenty of moisture to deal with during the week. Uh, this is certainly kind of impressive here with some of the heavier rains that are falling in parts of Southwest Utah, raining in Las Vegas. Uh, so if you pick this time of year to go to Vegas, at least the rain will keep you a little bit cooler.
Well, yeah, we didn't have any of that in late May when Renata and I were there. It was just very dry, like a dew point of 18 or 20 and 104 temperature. So that's quite the different story now. But of course, they too are subject to the occasional monsoonal rain pattern in southern Nevada, as is the case across much of Arizona, New Mexico, the lower part of Colorado. So the wet weather has arrived in the desert Southwest, and of course, it doesn't rain continuously. They were even talking about wildfires in and around Yosemite National Park and how thunderstorms may very well be of the dry variety. In other words, no precipitation, but the thunderstorms themselves with uh, vivid and frequent lightning, if they do hit any trees, could actually start because of the fact that it's so very dry out there, could start fire. It could be like throwing a match in a tinderbox. So that's the story out in the Southwest right now. Is the unusual spell of showery weather that's hitting, especially again in Arizona.
Yeah, Las Vegas right now is 81, which for 4 o'clock, 4:54 in the afternoon, isn't too bad. But the dew point there is 66. That's 81, 66, and there's all sorts of showers and thunderstorms surrounding Las Vegas right now on the radar. Um, that's got to play people that are used to the quote unquote dry heat. They don't like dew points up in the mid to upper 60s.
No, I got, and as I said yesterday on Joe and Joe, somebody was commenting about the fact that on Saturday when it was 101 at Newark with a dew point of 48 and the feels like or heat index was actually lower than the actual air temperature. And the comment says, I guess that's what you mean by a dry heat. And I said, yeah, for us, that is a dry heat. But if you were to have 103, 104 degree temperatures in Las Vegas with a dew point of 48, the people would be crying. They would be like saying, what's going on here? It's horrible. It's so humid, so muggy, because 48 dew point is, a very high value for them. They are, again, more accustomed to seeing dew points of 18 or 20 when they have the extreme heat and relative humidities down around 6 or 8%. But and you just said now for around Las Vegas, they're seeing dew points in the 60s.
Yeah,
Joe? Is that what you mean?
80, right, 81 temperature with a 66 dew point.
Oh my God, the people be dying out there. Like you and I go out there. I mean, if I were to go out in there, you know, I say, wow, oh wow, it's warm and it's a bit on the humid side. Nothing terrible. People who live there are, all year long. They'd be dying. They say, oh my God, this is horrible. How could we, you know? So
Well,
just spreading the love, Joe, to other parts
yes.
of the country.
Well, just looking at the overall pattern, do a little long range here. I mean, just looking at the overall pattern, we're reverting back to what we had in much of June and at least through the first half of the month of July with this rather busy flow from Canada and the that has reinserted itself now. So now we got a deep enough trough to bring down that northwest flow out of Canada, allowing for some dew point relief. But the troughs are not like the ones we saw in late June, where they were going all the way down the East Coast. So
Right.
the dew point relief is limited, and the temperature relief is limited. Yeah, across the northern lakes and up in northern New England, and into southeastern Canada, you're looking at some rather awesome dew points and temperatures, unless of course you're opposed to that sort of thing. Some people are, but this pattern has asserted itself for this week. So this trough is going to pull out, and then lo and behold, here comes another upper low, and this one's more robust than the one that's coming through that we're under the influence of now. There's a wrapped up cutoff there that comes down from Lake Winnipeg, east of Lake Winnipeg, almost to Lake Superior and then James Bay. Now, I think this one has a chance to bring in some, when it comes through with the cold front, with some showers and thunderstorms late in the week, and maybe we'll have another round of severe weather. But once that trough pulls out, the northern part of the jet joe is going to pull back up into Canada, and then take a look. I mean, you get this ridge that's been dominating much of the summer across the Southwest and in the plains and the lower Mississippi Valley starts to push eastward again. That forces the jet in Canada to pull northward, and it looks to me probably starting on Monday, August 1st. I don't know why I keep getting this page unresponsive nonsense, but I apologize for that showing up on the screen. But the ridge builds back into the east. So if you look at this and you take it literally, it would suggest to me that we'll probably get into another heat wave, and we'll have to wait until maybe the 6th or the 7th or a little bit beyond that for some kind of trough to drop into the east and bring in some relief. I mean, the model wants to eventually take that ridge, that upper high, which is almost a 600 upper high, and build it up into Minnesota. So if that happens, okay, yeah, you'll get enough troughing off the East Coast that New England and down the coast into Virginia, you'll probably get into some dew point relief, but it'll be pretty hot in the Great Lakes and throughout much of the middle part of the U.S. is a trough along the West Coast. So if that's the case, then they might be another 5 or 6 or 7 day heat wave to look ahead to beginning early next week.
Yeah. First of all, as you mentioned, the troughs are not penetrating as far south as they were during June and early July, but that's to be expected because we're right now, climatologically, this is the hottest time of the year, the latter days of July. So you would expect that these troughs would not penetrate quite as far south as they previously had done. And as far as the ridge building up, well, again, that's to be expected too, because again, this is the hottest time of the year, and one would have to suppose that the atmosphere is that ridge of high pressure is going to flex its muscles, so to speak, and build over the Great Lakes in the central part of the nation. And it looks like we're going to get into that zone two when we get toward, as you said, the beginning of August. Which again, it's August. It's when you expect heat, that's the time of the year also that you expect it, and hopefully that wave of heat will be. I was hoping that the one we just went through would be the crescendo, so to speak, the pinnacle of all the heat that we've seen so far. But it may very well be that the next go around in the opening part of August may be equal or possibly even be hotter than that, hotter than what we've just gone through. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, more of
But
that.
we do definitely get um, for the weekend, for later Friday into the weekend, we do definitely get a wave of drier and less humid, probably the nicest airflow that we have seen in many, many days around here. Of course, you have to wait again for the weekend for that, but at least it's good timing for a lot of people who want to do something this upcoming weekend
Yeah,
out of doors.
I reset my browser here, so I wanted to get rid of that annoying page unresponsive error that was coming up. So our front goes by. Now you'll see tomorrow from Virginia back west into West Virginia, southern Ohio, southern Indiana, Kentucky, into Tennessee. There's showers and thunderstorms, and one of the reasons why WPC did what they did. Well, now here comes the next. You already see it here on this is Tuesday evening. You can already see the next fronts kind of getting ready there in coming out of the northern plains with another coolish high dropping down out of Canada, and that front pushes eastward. Wednesday, I think, Joe, probably starts off with reasonable dew points, and then they'll start to come up later in the day. And yeah, there'll be a warm front that'll try and go by, and then we'll have to wait for the cold front to come through. There's just like a lead trough of some kind on Thursday with some scattered showers and storms, and then the front itself comes through Friday with some storms, and then that nice 1024 high Saturday morning over Indiana and Ohio will mean for seasonal temperatures, I think, for the weekend and low dew points for both Saturday and Sunday. And then once that pulls out, we should go into the beginnings of what I think will be another heat wave starting next. Well, Monday might be, one of those days where it's like 80s to near 90, and then after that, we'll bake with some showers and thunderstorms. I get showers and storms. I'm sorry. Monday will be in the 80s to near 90, and then we'll get into the real heat and humidity. The only thing I would just put as a caveat for next week would be if we get some kind of backdoor front, which the GFS loves to show, and then reality says no, it's not really there. So the model's showing some kind of backdoor front next Wednesday or Wednesday night that tries to come through, and then it just basically falls apart, and then we go back into the heat and humidity again into the weekend of August 6th, August 7th, and beyond that, we'll probably, let's see, we're going to get some kind of front that eventually drops down on this one, on this particular 18Z run. The answer is no. No, there is actually, I take that back. There is some kind of front that pushes through on Sunday, August the 7th, and brings in some drier air and cooler air for the beginning of the week of August 8th. But the other thing I wanted to check on, let's see if it does anything in the tropics, because we still don't have, the models really showing anything, even in the longer range. I'm just looking here. Now it's like, there are some waves that are coming off the African coast along about 10 degrees north, but the models are not really picking up on anything here, at least the GFS isn't. Let's see what the European did really quick. We only have out to 10 days, but something. And let's see on the Atlantic view here. Nope. The European doesn't have anything either. I think the big issue is the whole upper air pattern is still not really all that favorable for tropical cyclone development going forward. European's got a couple of tropical waves out there, but it really doesn't do anything with them. So it would suggest, at least through the first week of August, that there probably won't be much in the way of anything coming out of the tropics. So it's quiet there, and it remains quiet there.
Well, I did a little bit further research. Now that you mention it here, I did some further research on the fact that I looked at the last 10 summers, not including, of course, this summer, the summer of 2022, but all the way back to the summer of 2012, and found interestingly that on average, in the month of July now, there have been 24.9 days that were devoid of any kind of tropical activity occurring in the Atlantic or Caribbean basins during the month of July. So this, I've been saying, all along about how July is a slack month, and this proves the point that much of the month of July we don't really see very much in the way of any hurricane or tropical storm activity. Last year, for example, we had just one tropical system in July. It ran for 9 days. That was tropical storm. That was I don't have it listed if it was a tropical storm or a hurricane, Elsa, last year, from the 1st to the 9th of July. But we had 22 days otherwise in July of last year where there was no activity. You tie in all of the other summers from the previous, from 2021 down to 2012, 10 summers, 24.9 days out of the month of July have no or had no hurricane or tropical storm activity in the Atlantic or the Caribbean basin. And in fact, the month of July over the last 10 years has only averaged 1.4 named storms. So less than two storms usually. I mean, there were some years, 2016, nothing. 2014, nothing. 2012, nothing. But does that tell you anything? Not necessarily. I just told you 2012, no tropical systems at all. A very quiet month of July. And you might say to yourself, oh, well, maybe we don't have anything to worry about in 2012 in terms of tropical activity, in terms of any kind of enhanced. And if you remember, in late October of 2012, what did we have here in the tri-state area? We had Sandy. So the fact that it's quiet right now doesn't tell you a darn thing about how the upcoming summer is. In fact, over the previous 10 summers, after July, we have had 14 on average. Stack them up. 14 named storms in August, September, October, November on average after a relatively quiet month of July. So, and of course, September, the month that's the most active of all, and September 10th, traditionally the date where you would see the height of tropical activity. So, again, it's nice now. It's quiet, not just here in the Atlantic, also in the Eastern and Central Pacific, it's quiet, although there's one system that has like an 80 or 90% chance of becoming a named storm in the next day or two. But it's quiet all over now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to stay quiet for much longer. And considering how hot it's been across much of the northern hemisphere and how warm the ocean waters are, again, the purpose of a tropical storm or a hurricane is for the Earth to let off steam, so to speak, to get rid of all of that excess or surplus heat that has built up in the tropics for all of those weeks and months prior to, let's say, August and September. So considering that, get ready, folks. I have a feeling it's going to be very active, if not very active, later on in August, and especially so September and October.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back of what year it was. It was sometime in the last 5 or 6 years. We got to the fifth named tropical cyclone, I think, fairly early in the month of July. We got to the E storm, and then we just kind of sat there and waited and waited and waited. And it wasn't until the middle of August that we got to the F storm, and I think the F storm, I don't remember the name of it. It was a Franklin, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but we got to the F storm in the middle of August, and then all of a sudden it just exploded in terms of
Boom.
activity, and we had like
Yeah.
I think we rattled off like 5 or 6 tropical storms from mid-August into the early part of September. So we're probably going to see something like that this year. Sometime we get into after the if the pattern is that the models are forecasting is correct, we'll wait past the first week of August, and then all of a sudden it'll just it'll be like a bowling alley. It'll just all of a sudden there'll be one ball going down the alley after another after another. Maybe we'll get into a situation where there's 2 or 3 or even 4 storms on the map at the same time out there. So it's a long way to go. With regard, I was having a conversation this morning with somebody, uh, sort of deriding the Hurricane Center's forecast, and then I just gently pointed out that virtually 90% of the activity occurs between mid-August and mid-October. So we aren't even there yet as far
Right.
as that's concerned. So
Two years ago, 2 years ago in 2020, in July, by far and away the most active July that we had and have had in many, many years. We had not one, not two, but five named storms. We had Edward, we had Faye, Gonzalo, Hannah, and we finished off with Isaias.
Right.
in on July 30th and 31st. We all remember Isaias, what it did to us in the early part of August of 2020. But that was a very active month of July. But all the other months that I'm looking at here, Joe, generally speaking, there was just one or two named tropical systems. And in fact, as I mentioned, in three of those Julys, 2016, 14, and 12, there was nothing. There was nothing. And, other years, 2013, there was Chantal and Dorian. 2015, Claudette. 2017, Don and Emily. Beryl and Chris in 2018. Barry in 2019. Elsa, as I said, in 2021. And this year, so far, it's been Bonnie and Colin. And that's it. And that's probably going to be it for the balance of the week and for the balance of the month.
Right. And with the La Nina, it should mean that the Atlantic Basin will get busy. The Pacific side, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen, to get to the east, you're at the E storm, you're through the E storm or the F storm. Uh, for the end of July is no big deal. That is not, in my view, an active East Pacific type of season. There's been two majors. One of them was Bonnie, the other one was Darby, and the rest of them have been, just sort of ho hum. And again, the Pacific. I think the average in the East Pacific is something like 17. So if they still wind up with 15 or 16 named storms by the time they're done, that's a below average year for them. So again, long way to go, long way to go. So we'll obviously the pattern that we have across the United States, over North America and the Atlantic and out in the tropical regions is not one that's conducive for tropical cyclone development. So we need to kind of see a wholesale change in the upper pattern across the U.S. and across North America and out in the Atlantic in order for the tropics to really get going, and not really seeing that in the longer range models from what we looked at today.
Right. And Leon Probitsky hitting super chats. I think the first one we had tonight. Thank you very much, Leon. And as always, and he on his little his little icon, Joe, has somebody peeking out from behind the bushes and saying, "Hiya, hiya, Leon."
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed. I presume Leon, where Leon was, they probably had some sort of shower activity or thunderstorm activity. Somebody sent me
No, the North Shore, the South
a
Shore,
message.
the South Shore has been in a thunderstorm hole all summer, all spring and summer long. It was mostly North Shore again. It's funny how that
Somebody
works.
told me that they had a light. Somebody told me that they had a light thunderstorm. I don't know how to define that exactly, but this person was in Southwest Suffolk County. So I maybe it was the tail or trailing end of the activity that hit the North Shore, possibly grazed parts of the southern and western portions of Suffolk County.
Yeah.
Hey, look, regardless, they got a lot more than what I got. I mean, I was hoping for some wet weather, didn't get it, so it looks like I'm going to extend my dry spell here at least through Wednesday and possibly into early Thursday. So,
All right.
what are you going to do?
So do you have Briller Jeopardy for me tonight?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Now, while I'm looking for that, I should mention to you that tomorrow night I have the Wyckoff Public Library, which is scheduled, as they say in the United Kingdom, for 7 o'clock. So, if you want to do something with Joe and Joe tomorrow night, it probably wouldn't be good to start much earlier than, let's say, 8:20 or 8:30, unless you want to have it, Joe and Joe, tomorrow night. In that's
All right, if we go at 8:30 tomorrow night, we'll keep the show short.
yes,
30 minutes.
okay.
Uh
And every time we always say, and you
I
realize
know
that every time we
that's
always say we're going to keep the show, every time we say that we're going to keep the show short, the show goes for an hour and a half.
right, because somebody out there will do something that we'll have to comment and rant on, and then we'll
Right.
go on all sorts of different tangents from there. So
All right.
But all right, so 8:30 tomorrow night, folks. So
Yes.
mark that
830.
mark that down. Okay,
Yes.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, the chairman, Scott Brillers, starts off by saying, "But first, when I was governor, we
Oh
didn't have
God,
really."
no, no, no. Let's give that a rest for a little while.
Okay. Category all-time records at Atlantic City International Airport in Pomona, which is
Okay.
actually 11 miles to the west of the. Everything they hear, oh, it was 58. It's Atlantic City. Immediately, you're in your mind. What pops up? The boardwalk. No, Pomona International Airport is well inland from the ocean. So here we go. The first question, Mr. C. What was the highest temperature ever reported at Atlantic City International Airport? And you have to get within three to get that.
The highest temperature ever recorded in Atlantic City.
Yes.
I'm going at the airport. I'll say 103.
106.
All right. Well, that's within
You are
three.
within three. June 28th, 1969.
Okay.
And you know what? I remember so many things about 1969, the moonwalk, the Mets winning the championship. I somehow don't remember a siege of heat happening that early in the season, that early in the summer. I remember there was a spell of extreme heat in mid-July, but I don't remember the June 28th. But anyway, all right. So then, what was the all-time lowest temperature in Atlantic City?
I'm going to say minus. I'll say I'll say I'll say 13 below.
Wow, that's pretty darn good. Within three, minus 11, and this was in February 12th, 1979. I remember that. I remember that it was bitterly
Well,
cold
yeah, that's
for
right
a long
before.
time.
Yeah, that was that 3 week bitter cold that culminated in the President's Day storm in '79.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I think that
right.
was 3 weeks where the temperatures barely got above 20 in a lot of places.
Yeah, yeah. How about this? On August 20th, 1997, Atlantic City International Airport received its greatest one-day rainfall. How much?
Greatest 1 day rainfall. What was the date again?
On August 20th, 1997,
August
Atlantic
20th,
City Airport recorded its
1997.
greatest
I'll
one
I'll
day.
I'll say 12 inches.
Okay, he points out here the chairman could not find any tropical systems for that date. Does anybody remember if there was one? Last question for those who miss. Well, wait a minute now, Scott. Did you give me the answer to that? Oh, yes he did. Yes, he did. He says the chairman could not find any tropical systems for that date. Does anybody remember if there was one? The amount of rain that fell on that day in Atlantic City, August 20th, 1997, 11.2 inches.
I said
You know what it could have
12.
been? You know what it could have been? It could have been thunderstorms or a train line of
Could be.
showers and storms. But they got one after another, after another, after another,
Yes,
and
but
that's why.
where the question is, Joe, the questions are, um, were those thunderstorms accompanied by strong gusty winds and frequently dangerous lightning?
Lightning.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
the frequently
And here's
dangerous
last
variety.
the last question for those who missed snow during this heat wave. On December 26, 2010, Atlantic City International Airport received its greatest snowstorm. How many inches? And I'm amazed at this.
Well, that's the
I remember
boxing. That's the Boxing Day storm.
right. That's
Um,
the
so
Bloomberg blizzard.
I'm going to say, I don't remember the. I mean, I know parts of New Jersey got 30 inches plus. So I'll say 24.
18.4 inches.
Okay.
I'm surprised because if you had asked me that question, I would have thought it would have been the February 78 blizzard, where I remember distinctly at 9 o'clock Alan Casper coming on and with Jim Jensen and John Tesh. Yes, John Tesh at one time was a news anchor at Channel 2 in New York with the legendary Jim Jensen. And it was Alan Casper who made the announcement that at Pomona, New Jersey, they had received 3 inches of snow in the past hour. And that was, the storm that dumped, up to 50 inches up in Rhode Island. I would have thought that was the one that would have been the all-time record for snow, but I guess not. So it still stands 2010, December 26, 18.4 inches at, as if you are a fan of the Flintstones, it wasn't Atlantic City. It was Frantic City, Frantic City.
Yes, exactly. This Valerie, why is that an international airport? What international flight? I don't. There are a number of airports that are considered international airports, even though there might not necessarily be international flights that go into them. I think it. I could be wrong on this, but I think it has to do with the length of the runway. If the runway has to be a certain length in order to accommodate the planes that usually fly from overseas. So if they have the length of the runway, they call them international because maybe they have to, on occasion, if there's some sort of emergency of some sort, they can land those planes in those airports that normally don't have international flights. I don't know if that's right. I just seem to have that buzzing in my head for some reason. Because I know that I remember they were talking about with Islip MacArthur Airport, whether they wanted to lengthen the runway so that it would be considered an international airport. So I'm just kind of putting two and two together. But if somebody finds a different answer, you can certainly share it on the chat board. But that's what I'm think. That's what's running through my feeble little brain at the moment.
In Sullivan County, they have an airport. They call it Sullivan County International Airport, and it's 7 miles northwest of Monticello, in the village of in the village or the town of Thompson.
Hmm?
And I'm assuming that the reason why they call it an international airport is that they occasionally will fly into Canada, and so that makes it an international airport. It covers 600 acres at an elevation of 1,403 feet. Its runway 15/33 is 6,298 by 150 feet, and is asphalt. So
Okay,
there you go.
so uh, all right. So it says here. I just googled this. It says, what does international airport mean? International airports include customs and an international terminal. Passengers can fly abroad through direct or connecting flights. The international airport can also be used for domestic flights apart from the international. So I guess if the airport has planes that go to hubs where you can connect to an international flight, you can consider it an international airport. That's what uh, that's what I'm reading here on Google. Uh, International airports allow you to travel all over the world as opposed to domestic airports, which generally only allow flights within the same country. I don't know. Uh,
Did you hear about the guy who was on a flight on a commercial flight, and the pilot passed out, and the one of the flight attendants says, "Can anybody here help us? Can anybody here land this plane?" And somebody stepped forward, jumped into the flight deck, into the cockpit, and they gave him instructions on how to land the aircraft. And as he's coming down, he's saying, "I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could do this. It doesn't look long enough. It doesn't look. It doesn't look." They said, "Don't worry about it." And he flew down, and he like hit the brakes, like that, and it made the sharpest, hardest stop on the runway that you ever could imagine. And when the plane finally stopped, he said the tower said, "Congratulations, you landed the plane." He said, "Yeah, that was the guy who landed the plane said it was such a short runway though." Then he paused. He said, "But so wide."
yeah. God. Oh Lord.
He came in perpendicular, folks.
Yes. Um, I just uh, pulled this up. So it says It doesn't. The size of the airport doesn't is not relevant. It's a matter of whether you can fly out of if you can fly out of that airport. If there are flights from that airport that go to another airport where you can connect to an international flight, then the point of origin where you started out can be considered an international airport. The ones that are not international have their flights go to airports where you cannot connect. Oh, I don't make these rules up, so that's what it says on Google. So if it says so on the internet, it must be true. Remember that.
Yes.
Okay, so are we done?
I guess we are. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, tomorrow night again at 8:30 Eastern Time for, in theory, what will be a short 30-minute show. We'll see. So everybody, I hope you had a good day. Stay safe tonight. Enjoy the humidity break. If you are watching from an area where one is lucky enough to get into the humidity break for the next day and a half or two. And we'll see you tomorrow. Night, everybody.
Good night.